You know, when you think about it, Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of like a union monster.
This next piece really resonates with people.
I have something in common with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card design team. If I were in charge, I'd keep sticking cool stuff into the game as well, and move on to the next thing quickly, because I have no attention span. This is fine for me since I'll never get put in charge of a trading card game, but for Yu-Gi-Oh! It results in beloved and iconic mechanics falling to the wayside. Geminis, flip monsters to a lesser extent, spirits. When you hit more than 10,000 cards in a game without rotation, which I am not advocating for, not everything can keep up ship-shape standards at every hour of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Eras come and go, although some were never so glamorous. Today I'm particularly interested in Union, the monster ability whose members keep a similar effect of equipping themselves to appropriately specified monsters, providing a beneficial effect while treated as an equipped spell, and unequipping themselves to be special summoned onto the field once more. They all keep the classification of the Union ability, which affords some cards in the class certain supports, which is unfortunately not much. What they do have is plain, and focused too hard on the one time they did something great, instead of branching out. Despite all they do have going for them, this typing remaining all but forgotten may be for the greater good of Yu-Gi-Oh! The theme of monsters directly combining in such a way lends itself to the idea of Megazords and other mecha-type media. No surprise, most Union monster rep in the card pool, printed and anime, consists of machine monsters and leans into giving them the advantage amongst the cards in need of Union support. Kaiba card privilege, I suppose, and to a lesser extent Chaz.
Before you Chaz me, watch this.
Of course, when you can put the main character's rivals of two series behind a category of card to sell, one should take that chance. This treatment would be alright in the context of an archetype, but this is a whole ability here. They get an extra special line of text on top of the box. And it's not Toon, a case in which cards have to be strictly limited to an ability made for basically one character. Multiple guys have used these in lower stakes anime duels like it was nothing. Nonetheless, what little Union support to be found in recent years funnels towards the machine-type family of cards. Union Carrier, the ever so poorly designed Union support that became generic extra deck locks, infinite negates, and almost free foolish burials, will be looked at through the lens of being a Union support for the effect of this conversation. Yes, the materials are generic, but it's a given type and attribute, and how little Union monsters actually exist, especially when Carrier was around. They're telling you that you're going to be equipping the Union driver, which can dodge the summon restriction on the monster attached by Carrier.
Rules are meant to be broken!
That's the exact opposite of what they—
This driver can equip any appropriate level 4 or lower Union monster from the deck, but all the ways to get to it on field in a reasonable manner, surprise, are machine-oriented. The only other theming that feels distinct from those already mentioned, the Vylons, and still kinda functions, is still a light machine deck. Things are pretty damn grave, bro. Rare breaks in the rules of infrequent Union releases could detach themselves from the classification altogether, maintaining the effect, and nothing would change.
Hi everybody, this is the interesting mouse type creature thing from yesterday, and I just wanted to say,
Squeak Knight was just a way to turn Sublimation Knight into a one-card Isolde combo, and over here on the TCG side of things, Isolde is gone, possibly forever. And I don't know what you could do better with these cards that you couldn't with something else. It's fine, Squeak Knight's perfectly inoffensive, but still manages to be a tiny drop inside of a pool that still remains shallow. It didn't really do anything to change the state or public perception of Union monsters. There's no real frame of reference as to what a modern, truly modern, Union monster deck could do. Not only are modern monsters with this ability a scarcity to find, but support cards for them as well. There's hardly a dozen spells and traps to split between them, and you can count the generic non-machine ones on your fingers. The effects are dated and appear that they wouldn't be much help in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, but the truth is, I have no idea what they would look like in a deck not entrenched in the aesthetics of Steel. And by that I mean a real deck, not goddamn Aitsu Turbo.
I'm going to fly for you.
Or whatever the hell Valkyrie has going on. A deck that takes Formation Union, a trap that does the Union monster's effect for the Union monster, and Rollout, a card that equips a Union from the graveyard and makes them searchable, could be a welcome sight and a reasonable step forward. But you know what could be even more cool? An actual supply of back row to use. Yeah, I think that might do it. This may come across as obvious, but Union monsters come with some pretty nasty conditions, vulnerable to what gets rid of spells and traps in the first place. However, their exact specified counters don't go very far, and unless I missed something quite stupid, the only option is Union Rider. It equips a Union monster the opponent controls to itself, and locks that Union monster from being de-equipped and special summoned, so you can't even start extending after pulling off this extremely unlikely counter, even in the slower age in which it was released. But I'm not in a hurry to see more cards that can screw over Union monsters, because Konami is doing that just fine. There's no real reasons to classify cards as Union if there isn't support there, honestly. It's just a case of neglect and atrophy. Years of little to no attention lead to other methods of entering the spell trap zone, new and old, ones that don't require a whole monster ability to thrive. Crystal Beast, Centurion, Infernoble Knight, Snake Eye, Valence, Therions, and more do more of the technicalities and mechanics of monsters in the spell trap zone than Union monsters really manage to do, and none of them have to be designed in context to every card of the type having a shared effect, which could compromise the theming of a given archetype if it wanted the cards to stay in a certain place, or exclude the equip mechanic altogether. Unions add a lot to account for, and in a game that's always creeping into every little corner of what's possible to develop new playstyles, the mechanic may be more restrictive than inspiring.
Future's now, old man.
It's already been fixed with all Union monsters printed and or reprinted after and in the ABC structure deck, letting folks equip more than one Union to a monster at a time. But everything not under the errata umbrella remains with the original restriction written upon the cards. There's so little urgency to create cards and strategies around Union monsters that little to none of the old ones, outside of Light Machine A to Z theming, are likely to see any other printing, even in the current landscape of card design, where it can feel like every third new archetype is a retrain printer for old cards. I mean, I don't see much to take inspiration from, but then again, Hungry Burger is a deck now, so maybe I should shut up.
He's attempting to make the most difficult burger known to man.
If we were trying to save the Union mechanic again, it would need a wave of non-machine oriented stuff, and to have real reasons to stick around. Perhaps Unions need to start being able to be printed in a way that equips them from the hand or the graveyard, but as soon as you start changing the way how it works so drastically, you're separate enough from the mechanic that you may as well not be a Union monster in the first place. At this point, outside the abilities used in machine decks like ABC and Earth Machine piles using some Machinas, it would be more than fine to leave it behind. The concept is no longer novel or as ripe with potential. The niche it once filled has been overrun by arguably more interesting methods of spell trap zone interactions for monsters, and I don't believe there's much demand to see more from Unions in the pet deck category.
Well, this is cool. I can't do anything.
Given how demanding the player base can be, it's not often a secret what Yu-Gi-Oh fans want. They want Max C banned in Master Duel. They want the game to be affordable. They want any number of cards, but I don't see a demand to revitalize Unions, even on that front. Plenty remains to be fixed within this game, and Unions keep falling lower and lower on that list. I agree there, we have much bigger fish to fry. I would rather see Geminis get more proper support, so I can finally unleash my army of 500,000 Chemicritters onto the streets and rule supreme. Maybe Union monsters themselves have a chance at being saved, but as is, they're fine to remain in the back of the mind, as the quirky thing the Dragon Buster deck can do, and the parent playstyle to one of the most obnoxious Link monsters ever conceived. If you think I'm giving Union monsters a bit too tough of a shakedown, or if you agree that we have better things to worry about in the meantime, please let me, and each other, know in the comments. And since I'm actually uploading again, you have a reason to subscribe? Think about it.